What's going on, everyone? My name is Jeremy and welcome back to Focus Flow. In this video we're going to be talking all about the backflip, how to do it, how to get over the fear of doing it, and finally how to improve upon it once you can do it so that you can do all sorts of cool variations like I showed previously. So without any further delay, let's get right into this tutorial. Now, it's always important to have a good understanding of any tricks you might want to know before attempting a more advanced maneuver. However, lucky for us, the backflip is actually one of the most basic flips you can do, and therefore there aren't really any prerequisites you have to know before attempting it. Now, I know some people would say that you want to learn the back handspring first, and while that's completely fine if you feel more comfortable doing it, by no means would I consider that a prerequisite. I learned my backflips way before my back handspring, and even to this day my backflips are a lot cleaner and I'm more comfortable with them. So it's honestly personal preference. If you feel like the back handspring is less scary and it'll help you get over the fear, then definitely consider it. If not, don't feel obliged to learn it first. Now, because there aren't any specific tricks you need to know before attempting the backflip, I think it's a good idea to self-evaluate your own athleticism and coordination. Now, by no means do you have to be some jock in order to do a backflip, but if you have a mild amount of athleticism and you have a pretty decent vertical jump height standing, then there's no reason why you should feel like you can't learn how to do this trick. Now, I just want to preface this by saying that you can utilize a power setup such as the round off in order to increase your vertical height and flipping rotation speed. The only downside to doing this is it does add an extra step before the backflip. So if you can't do a round off or are not very comfortable doing one, then it might just make it harder to learn the backflip because you're adding in another step. For the purposes of this video, we're going to be talking about learning the standing backflip. Okay, and now for the actual technique of the backflip. The standing backflip, as the name suggests, starts in a standing position. Pretty simple. You're going to start with your knees bent and your arms extended behind you. From here, you'll swing your arms up into the air while your legs extend and you jump off your toes. You're going to set your chest up high, bring your legs into your chest, and grab either your shins or your quads to secure them as tightly to your body as you can. Then you will look back with your head, spot the ground, untuck, and land the backflip. Easy, right? Now, if it was actually that easy to do and commit to doing, then everyone and their second cousin twice removed would be doing it. So now comes probably the most important part of this tutorial, the tips and tricks of how to properly do it and overcome the fear of doing the backflip. Now, undoubtedly the most common hurdle that people face when trying to learn the backflip is getting over the fear of doing it. I can tell you all the tips and tricks you need to know how to learn a perfect and clean backflip, but if you can never overcome the fear, then you'll never ever land a backflip. So here are my most important tips for getting over the fear of trying your first backflip. Alright, first we have the macaco. This shouldn't be a surprise if you've ever watched Pygmy on YouTube. The macaco is essentially a cheated one-handed back handspring, and you can use this to get more comfortable going upside down backwards. First, start in this position with one arm down. Pick which arm you feel most comfortable going over. Then jump off of your feet and use your hand as a guide to wrap around your body, landing on the other side. The reason that this is so helpful is because you can start it off not going upside down at all, and then slowly cheat it less and less until you're almost completely upside down. As you progressively get more comfortable going backwards, you're going to start more on your feet and jump back to your hand, as opposed to starting with it on the ground. Once you're very comfortable with this, you can even start to place down both hands as a sort of cheated back handspring. This should help a lot with getting used to the feeling of being upside down in the air. Just make sure you stretch your back out with some bridges before doing this. The second exercise is the reverse somersault. Simply start in a squat and sit on your butt as you push off with your legs. Tuck tight and use your hands for support on the ground if need be. This will help give you the feeling of being completely upside down and in a similar position as the back tuck. Once comfortable, push off your legs harder and harder to get a faster roll that better emulates a real flip. Definitely do this on a soft surface. Now, the final tip I could give you for overcoming the fear of the backflip is to simply try it in an environment where you're not afraid of getting hurt. Obviously, a foam pit would be ideal, and if you don't have any gymnastic center around you like I didn't, then you could always go to a trampoline park. Those are everywhere and they almost always have foam pits that you can practice in. Don't worry if you can't find a foam pit though, because I personally didn't learn the backflip using one of these. It can be very helpful though, getting over the fear. Another place you could learn the backflip without fear of hurting yourself is into a pool or any type of body of water. Just make sure that if you're doing this, you take into consideration that you're going to probably be jumping off of a solid foundation, which means that you're also going to be jumping backwards to get to the body of water. And that technique is going to be different once you want to learn it on flat ground, because you're going to want to try to jump straight up and land where you jumped from. So just keep that in mind. Trampolines are always a great place to learn new flips, and the backflip is no exception. You can use the bounce of the trampoline to get you all the height you need to ensure you land it. And yeah, if you land on your neck, you can still get hurt, so be careful of that. But if you land on your back or your stomach or anything like that, you should be absolutely fine. Just make sure you fully commit to it once you go for it. Just keep in mind that none of these things are required. They just can be very helpful for getting over the fear. I used absolutely none of these things when I learned my first backflip. I didn't have a trampoline. I didn't go to any pools or any type of foam pit. I simply just stacked a bunch of pillows in my living room floor, tried it a few times, and then once I was comfortable, I took it outside on grass. So none of those are required, but they can be super helpful. So you're finally confident enough to bite the bullet and try your first backflip. Well, before you do, let me give you some tips and tricks to ensure that you land on your feet. The first thing to focus on is your set. Again, this is a standing backflip, so you're not going to have the momentum from a blocking technique nor any type of power setup. It's just a raw stationary jump, so it's important you utilize it well in order to maximize the height of your flip. When squatting down, charging up for the set, it's important to take the time to find what degree of squat works best for you. Some people have big, meaty thighs, and as a result, like to squat really deep so that they can use their quads to their full potential. Me, I have less meat on me than a vegan meal plan, so personally I prefer a lighter squat and focus on pushing up fast and relying on my calves and ankles to push fast as well. No matter what your build is, you're going to want to find what feels most comfortable for you and allows the highest jump. Furthermore, you want to ensure that you take off with your knees below your chest and that you don't throw yourself backwards once you jump. One of the biggest mistakes I see with beginner backflips, including mine when I first learned them, is taking off in a sitting position like this. When you tuck for your backflip, your chest area becomes your center of gravity, and your center of gravity is also your center of rotation. Now, I'm not here to teach you physics. I barely passed it myself. I'm here to teach you a backflip. What this really means is that wherever your chest is also where you'll start flipping around. So, if you take off in that sitting position and additionally throw yourself backwards trying to rush the flip, you end up forcing yourself to flip much lower to the ground. This is also why beginners tend to travel really far back when they do their backflips, because when your chest is flung backwards, your legs will follow, rotating around it and eventually landing a few feet away from where you started. So make sure you start with your knees below your chest and throw your chest up at the highest point it'll go while jumping straight up. A good way to ensure you do this correctly is to look at something in front of you for as long as you can during the set. Another tip to keep in mind is to make sure you swing your arms fully in your set. It's really easy to only throw them part way in an attempt to tuck for the flip as fast as possible. So swing them all the way up, generating as much upward thrust as possible. The most power from this comes from your shoulders, so make sure that they are fully extended before you tuck. Now, the final tip I could give you, and probably the most important, is that when you do decide to try your first backflip, make sure you commit 100%. The last thing you want in your backflip is to attempt it and then halfway there you freeze up and want to try to take back the jump only to realize it's too late and you end up landing on your head. If you fully commit to your backflip, however, I guarantee that won't happen. You practice in a nice, safe environment and you fully commit to it. Worst comes to worst, you'll probably end up landing on your knees. So if you take anything from this video at all, it's that when you do decide to do your backflip, decide to do the backflip. And that's pretty much it when it comes to the backflip. The rest is as simple as spotting the ground, untucking, and landing. And with the backflip, spotting is very easy because you tend to flip already looking at the ground. So it's really not that big of an issue. So I hope this tutorial helps you land your first backflip or gives you the insight you need to improve it. Just remember that no video, no tutorial, or anything like that is going to beat practicing the flip yourself. If you want to improve it, practice it every single day or as much as you can, and you will get better at it over time. You're not just gonna one day have really clean backflips when you didn't know how to do it at all before. Now, one final piece of advice I could give you for learning your backflip, or any trick for that matter, is to just film yourself doing it. Nothing beats being able to visibly see yourself in third person trying the trick you're trying to learn. Then you can compare that to others on YouTube, for instance, to try to improve it yourself. So that's going to mark the end of this video. I really truly hope it helped you learn your backflip or improve upon it. If you like this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing, because I post videos 2 times a week. And if you really want to support this channel, then please consider sharing this video or any videos on my channel, maybe to just 1 or 2 other people. It really will help me grow, and I really appreciate all the support I get on this channel. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you later this week.